Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to look at how you can output and style GitHub style Markdown alerts. You'll be creating Markdown files, and from then you'll be outputting alerts just like the one you can see on the screen. So it's assumed you have the latest version of Hugo installed, and that's really important because at the time of filming, only the most recent version of Hugo does actually support the GitHub alerts. You'll need Visual Studio Code set up as well. I've got a video in the link above, which will take you through the whole process of installing everything you need. You'll be learning how to create a block quote render hook. We'll also be creating the alerts themselves in Markdown, and then we're conditionally formatting the GitHub style Markdown alerts, if they are in fact Markdown alerts, in the block quote render hook. So in a folder where you'd like to do your work, we're going to open up a terminal, and we're going to use Hugo to create a blank skeleton theme for us. So the command for that will be Hugo new theme, and we'll give it a name, so GitHub alerts in this case, and we've got to tell it the themes directory is the current one. You can now open up that folder in Visual Studio Code. Alright, so before we go any further, we'll go to a new terminal and we'll run Hugo server. And then we can control click on the link to open it up in the browser. Alright, so it's opened up in the browser. Let's now go ahead and have a look at, first of all, block quotes, and then from there we'll go and look at GitHub alerts. Hugo docs page for block quote Renderhooks. If you haven't looked into Renderhooks, they're a very powerful way of customizing how your Markdown's rendered. I highly recommend you have a look into them. So if we scroll down, we're not too worried about attributes. We'll look at that in another video. We'll look at doing some custom block quotes. If we scroll down, we've got an example here of the most basic block quote. So inside the layouts folder and then default, and you can actually set up the render hooks in page specific folders. We're just going to do it in default for now, like a general one. I'm going to create a markup folder with an underscore before it. We'll go into our layouts folder and then default, and we'll make our markup folder. And then we'll copy in the render block quote file name. And to get started, we'll put this basic text in. All right, so what that's going to do is it's going to, instead of the generic block quote that will be generated from Markdown, we're going to be generating a block quote based on this template. So let's start off by doing a class, and we'll call that Markdown block quote. So now we can style these block quotes differently to other block quotes in our site. So we'll go into the content, and we'll go to posts, and we'll just choose post 1. And top of the page, we'll put in a block quote. So this is a standard block quote. We'll save that. On the website, we will scroll down to post 1, and you'll see there we've got, this is a standard block quote. We'll inspect that, and you'll notice we've now got our custom class coming in there. Hugo by default will put the text within a paragraph, just the way it renders from Markdown. So I'll have a look at doing some alerts. If you keep scrolling down, and we'll have a look at this one in a different video, how to do some more highly customized block quotes with attributes. Down in alerts, we've got some text here. We'll copy all of that text, and underneath the block quote that we've added, we'll paste in all that text. So we've got the different, that's everything that's supported with the GitHub standards, and that's the plugin that's been included with the newest version of Hugo. It's the GitHub standard alerts. So we'll save that. So now they're just being outputted as standard block quotes. We can see the class there is Markdown block quote, and nothing else is coming through because we haven't actually set up Hugo to render it. It's being processed by Hugo, it's just not being outputted into HTML. So back on the Hugo Docs page, we've got an example here, and they're using emojis as the icon, and it's definitely a valid way of doing it. We're going to do it a little bit more customized, but we'll copy all of that text, and then we'll go back into our block quote render hook, and we'll paste that in, and we'll get the text that we've set up ourselves, and we'll cut that, and we'll paste that into the else. And we'll save that, and then we'll check it out on the website and see how it's rendering. All right, so that's coming through as intended. We've got our little icons coming in, and then the name of the alert type, along with the information that was written into Markdown. What we're going to have a go now at doing is setting them up so that they're more like the GitHub standard. So this is some Markdown that's been rendered on a GitHub page, and we're going to have a go at setting them up to mirror the way that GitHub renders them, just so you've got a great place to start at, and then you can further customize it for your own needs. What we'll do first of all is we'll have a go at setting up some classes. The class that I set up for the block quote was Markdown hyphen block quote. So what we'll do is we'll use Markdown dash alert as a general class, and then for a alert style specific class, we'll do Markdown dash alert, and we'll do a hyphen, and we'll do a double hyphen. We'll use the BEM naming convention standards. So we've got a particular modifier there. And for the heading, we'll do a double underscore. So it'll be Markdown hyphen alert, and then double underscore for heading. We're using the basic BEM CSS conventions there. Now, we're not going to be using the emoji. We'll just save that for now and have a look at it. I'm also going to change this P to a div because it's not going to be a paragraph of text, rather a heading. So we'll save that, and we'll have a quick look and check that everything's working well. All right, so nothing's changed, which is a good sign. So we'll go into inspect. I'll have a look at how it's coming through. So we can see we've got our standard Markdown block quote, and then we've got our Markdown alert, and we've got the modifier there of the note style, which is looking good. We've also got our Markdown alert heading. So all the classes are coming through just as I'd like them. Now we can have a go at doing some style to get us started with the way that GitHub has styled it. So we'll go through to the standard block quote to start with, and we'll have a look at how that works. So if you scroll down, we'll see that we've got padding left and right of 1 rem, we've got margin bottom of 1 rem, and then we've got a 4 pixel border on the left with some color. So we'll go through and we'll set that up. Now I don't normally work with CSS, I normally use SCSS, but to keep this simple, we will use CSS. So we'll open up the CSS file, and then we'll have a look at Markdown block quote. We'll do margin bottom of 1 rem, and then we'll do padding. So above and below will be 0, and then left and right will be 1 rem, and border left 4 pixels, and then we're going to have our basic color. So we'll set up some variables. just so we can reuse things. And again, look, this is a really basic way of doing it in CSS. I'd highly recommend you'd use SCSS, especially with variables. So I've set up some colors here. I've taken them off the GitHub example there, and we're going to use that. I've used C to prefix color, as C is a prefix for all of these variables. So we know they're color variables. We'll use the border default for our basic block quote. Save that, and then we'll have a look at how it's going. We could also, we're also going to use this for Markdown alert. And you may even, it's probably not the best way of doing it, but you may even put in block quote. You really should have a class assigned to it, but that's something you could do. So we'll save that and have a look on the site. So we've got our basic style coming through there on the standard block quote. However, we've still got a bit of a way to go on the rest of them. So we'll apply some styles and then we'll have a go at fixing up the icons. Now, as you go down, you'll notice we've got the note variant and then the tip, important, warning, and caution variant. So I'll have to set up some styles for those variants. This would be a lot easier using SCSS. Like I said, I'm not going to complicate this project. It's a lot easier to set up this way. It's just harder to code. So we've got Markdown alert. So we'll copy that in. And then the first variant that we'll target be note, and then we'll do tip. So we'll do note. So we'll do border left color. I mean, you could do border color if you wanted to. And then we'll do variable. And for the note, we'll use the color of info. And we'll also set color to the same, that'll be the text color. And probably a better way to do it in SCSS, we're applying the color to the whole of that div. Ideally, you would just apply the color to the heading div inside it, but that's going to be a little bit more verbose given we're using CSS. We'll have to therefore override the color for the actual paragraph text, put that back into the document's color, but we'll keep going with this particular way of doing it. So we've done notes, then we'll hold down Alt-Shift-Down to duplicate, and then we're going to use tip. Now, if you were doing this in SCSS, you could set up a map of values, just like we've got here for the emojis, and you could actually generate this automatically. So the tip, we'll use the green color. So we've got there the success variable. Paste that in. And we'll duplicate. We have to do important, warning, and caution. And then for the last one, we'll get the danger. And we'll save that and we'll see how our progress is going. All right, so that's coming along. We've got our borders set up well, and we've also got the color coming into the icons and the heading. We've now got to override so that we don't have that color coming through to the paragraph text. Like I said, if you're using SCSS, I would be only applying the text color to the title. So we'll target Markdown alert. And we'll look at the paragraph that sits inside it and color. And this is, like I said, not the best way to go about it. but we'll get our default text color and we'll pop that in there in a variable. And we'll also go back up to body and we'll pop that in there as well. And in this case, it was 222. So now got that default color coming into all of the body text, and we're also overriding for the paragraph. One thing we should probably do while we're here is we'll target Markdown block quote, and we'll look at the last child paragraph, and we'll also target Markdown alert. That way we don't have any margin after the last paragraph in a block quote or an alert. So we'll do margin bottom 0. That'll clear it out in case we've got multiple paragraphs, for example, in a block quote or a alert. We don't want any space below the last paragraph. We do want to keep space between them. So almost there, looking a lot better now. We've got, as you can see, there's no space below the paragraph. We've got that rule coming in there, no margin below. But we've got our color coming through for our paragraph, which is great. And got the correct color coming into the heading. We'll just remove that. Let's check what it is. We've got margin above the paragraph. We'll get rid of that, and we'll add some margin below the heading. It's much better practice to have your margin below divs. It's also the basic styling in this particular skeleton theme. They haven't used a CSS reset or normalization on it. So depending on the way you've set up your project, I'd personally use normalize CSS just to help standardize everything. But for P, for example, we'll do margin top 0. So that's fixed up. Now we'll do a bit of styling on the title. So looking at Markdown alert double underscore title, and we'll set margin bottom 1 rem, display flex, and do align items center, font weight 500, and font size, it's pretty standard 1 rem, but we'll specify it anyway just to be sure. All right, that's looking good. Now we'll go about inserting some icons and then styling them. So at the moment we've got our icons coming in from emojis. If we look at the example on GitHub, they've got some icons here, and if you dig deep, you can actually find the repository for these icons. So we're going to start with that repository. You can get your icons from wherever you like, but just for this example where we're getting our ideas, our inspiration from GitHub, we'll go use their repository. So I've got this link in the description below. It's the Icons library. It's written by GitHub and it's used on their projects. The easiest way to go about it is if you go to code and download a zip file. You could obviously clone it. We're just going to grab a few files out of it. You probably don't need to clone the repository. So download a zip file and then we'll open it up and we'll find the files that we need. So if you inspect, let's pull this back across again. So you can see, so you'll see, have a look at the class. So Octicon is because of the library. And then we've got info, Octicon info. So info is the actual name of the file that we're going to be looking for in the Octicon library. So go into the icons folder and then type in info. And we're going to grab the 16 because it's 16 pixels wide, which is 1 rem, which is a great way to scale it. Copy that. And then inside your project in assets, we'll make a folder called SVG, another folder inside that, octagons, and then we'll open that in File Explorer. And then you can paste your files in there. All right, so I'll then go and get the rest of those files. All right, so I found all the files. Now we'll go back to Visual Studio Code and we'll set up the block quote render hook to render the different SVGs depending on which particular alert is being rendered. So we'll go back to the render block quote, and currently we've got a or a dict in Hugo terms. So we're going to have to go through and set up the names of the files we need. So for caution, it's going to be the stop, and then for important, it will be report. And you can get this off the class names of that GitHub example, and that's the actual repository of this completed project. I've left those examples in there for you. So we'll do info for note, and then for tip, it'll be light hyphen bold, and then for warning, it will be alert. All right, so what we'll do now is we're not doing any translation, so just to keep it simple, I'm going to get rid of the or. So we've just got the title function there. What title does is we've got our alert type coming through. That'll be in lowercase, for example, caution, and the title will capitalize the first letter. So what we'll do is just below where it says emojis, we'll change that to SVGs. We're going to have to pull that file. So we'll do $SVG, that's a variable, colon equals resources.getMatch, make sure it's capital G and capital M. And then we're going to look in, this is already referring to the assets folder. So it'll be SVG / opticons. And for now, we'll just do star.svg. We'll grab the first file and we'll refine that down in a minute. And then what we'll do is come back to this in a minute. svg.content with a capital C. And we've got to run that through safe HTML so it's not escaped. So we'll save that and have a look at the website. All right, so that's a start. So we've got the first icon getting pulled in. That's what get match does. We haven't got any styling applied to it yet, but that's all right. And that's coming through to every single one of them, which is great. So now we'll have a go at pulling in the particular SVG, depending on the particular alert that's been called, and then we'll style it. All right, so first thing, if you look at the file name, you notice there's a -16 at the end of them all. So one way we could do it is actually specify that, and we're going to use a function called printf. That's for string substitution. And instead of the star, we'll put in a %s. And to substitute in for that %s, we'll put another set of brackets in, and we'll use index, and we'll feed into index the SVGs map or dict we've got up here. And to actually get the index out of it, we're going to use .alert type. And we'll save that and we'll have a look. All right, that's working really well. We're pulling in the particular SVG that we're after, and you guys can customize that depending on whatever icons you want to use for your site, most likely for your blog. So then we'll go through and do some styling. All right, so I'll grab that and I'll pop it inside the if The type is alert. I haven't got this particular project set up for code formatting, but I've got a video on that, which will show you how to set Visual Studio Code up so that you can format your code for Hugo. All right, so now we've got to do some styles. All right, so first of all, we've used heading in the HTML, so we'll change that to title to match the CSS. And then what we'll do is we will target SVG that sits inside direct child inside our alert title, and we'll do fill current color, so it inherits the fill color. Padding right of 0.5 rem, and that's copied off GitHub. And we'll set the height to 1 em, so it's scalable, and then width 1 em, and display the block. So we'll save that and we'll have a look. And that is looking amazing. So there you have it, guys. You've now set that up pretty much exactly as per how GitHub would output it. It's just up to you now to customize it as you wish so that you can make it suit your particular site. One more thing you can do, and it's optional, is we'll copy and paste the render block quote, and we'll rename that render hook to -alert, and then the other one we will rename it to -regular. And for the regular one, we're just going to have our standard block quote. And then for the alert, we don't need to worry about the if, so it's only going to be alerts that are coming through here. We'll get rid of the else. Save that and we'll check everything's still working properly. And that's looking great. So if you like doing that, I've also got a video you'll find on YouTube. It's about standard block quotes, but creating figures with figure captions below them. And that's using the attributes that you can optionally enable in your Hugo configuration file. And then we'll go about pulling out the configurations and we'll set it up slightly different to this. That's another video. So that's it. If you made it this far, congratulations. And please remember to hit that subscribe button so you get my regular weekly videos on Hugo and other modern front-end web development technologies. Remember to hit the thumbs up if you like the video and hit that bell notification so you get them delivered directly to your feed. See you in the next one.